try to relax and do this video for Mouse and for Absolution Fest here. I'm really excited for this show finally. Uh oh man, COVID was a pain in the butt. Here I am talking to myself. I feel like I'm talking to Mouse for a little bit. COVID was a pain in the butt, wasn't it, Sherry? Okay. So I put together this little thing. I'm sure that'll be cool if you just edit to this, but I'm mostly doing this because I needed to keep track of what the heck I'm doing. All right. So who the heck is the Purge? Let me pause here. So who is the Purge? Who the heck is the Purge? Uh it was supposed to be a band, but it's hard to anyone who's ever tried to get a D&D session together knows how hard it is just to gather adults in the same place or time, same place and time at once. And so putting a band together is kind of hard. But I've been writing this music pretty much since. It depends how far you want to go back. You know, you could make an argument that I've kind of been working on this stuff ever since I was 16. But I think that the Purge specifically kind of came to life in about 2015 or 2016. Um, yeah, no, 2014, 2013. Time is weird. I have ADHD, so time is weird. Uh, I'll come back to that when I get to the actual albums and the work that I've released, because it goes pretty far back. I think 2013 or 14 is when I put together my first album. But I had a bit of an explosion of creativity uh, in sort of the dark wave and post-punk vein of things. Uh, Probably about 2016 is when I started really writing a ton of it. And that kind of kept going all the way through 2018. So that's kind of what the Purge is it's me. It was supposed to be a band, but it's me and, you know, my keyboard and my microphone and my guitar and all of the cool production shortcuts and tricks I've learned ever since I was 16. And there's a lot of them. So, who are my influences? The most obvious ones I think are The Cure and Nine Inch Nails. I think that um, their influence is pretty obvious if you really start listening to my catalog. On some songs, more so than others. Um, but they're kind of the big ones. I would say that vocally, I used to sit on the bus and I would listen to music on my headphones back when I was in high school. Now I'm actually a high school teacher, which is cool how things go full circle. Um, but I would listen to the music on the bus and some oftentimes in class too. Oftentimes in class too. I really should not have been doing that, but I get it when kids are. Um, Sorry, I'm reflecting on how I handle it when kids are because it's usually kind of funny. Usually I ask what they're listening to first before I tell them to pay attention. And I usually I organize my classes so that there's time to listen and there's time to do your own thing. And I don't mind when kids listen to music during the time when it's scheduled for them to do their own thing, but then I stop them and get their attention when I lecture, and it's a pretty good system. Sorry, I'm having flashbacks to teachers that handled it terribly when I was listening to music. Um, it's very confrontational. I try not to be that way. Anyway, so I would listen to music and I've always been kind of good with voices and stuff too. And so I kind of learned how to sing sort of by emulating other voices. Uh, and eventually I kind of got pitch control. I don't think I can really do a good Trent Reznor. I think his influence comes through more in the arrangement of things. But you know, Dave Gahan and Robert Smith, uh, you know, I remember being fascinated by the way their accents influence their enunciation of things. I really like Bright Eyes too. I think that one doesn't show up in The Purge as much. Um, Perhaps maybe more subtly. Um, but Connor Oberst is an artist whose voice really speaks to me as well. And there are sort of like side projects I've been working on where I want to explore that more. Hopefully, I'll finish something soon. Right. Sort of a one you might not think, one that's maybe not so obvious, but someone who I think has inspired a lot of people of my generation, Nobuo Uematsu. For those of you who don't know, he is the composer that did all of the arrangements, all of the music for the Final Fantasy video games, sort of in their heyday. So with SquareSoft, Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy 6 and 8, 9, 10. I think he was still involved with 10. I think he stopped being involved with 11 or 12. Um, but I didn't know it at the time, but those arrangements of like, Final Fantasy 7 in particular were a huge, huge influence on me. One that I think cannot be understated because uh, he was writing with MIDI, and there were extreme limitations set upon what he could and couldn't do with that MIDI toolkit in those video games. And I think that I have been hugely, hugely influenced by the way that he made such beautiful, beautiful arrangements using those. Now, using that limited toolkit. And I would also say that um, now the way in which I compose music is similar to what he had to work with. However, the technology has advanced so much so that the limitations compositionally are not necessarily there, even though the way that I work with MIDI is still similar. And by the limitations, what I mean is, well, I guess the hardware of the old Super Nintendos and the Sony PlayStations were limited. I think they have an onboard synthesizer that he was able to work with, so he could just so the game cartridge didn't have to hold audio files, um, or they had to compress the audio files to these really small file sizes, something like that. But he was able to work with those limitations so well. Um, Really a masterful person, a really masterful composer. I think most serious composers are aware of him as well. So anyway, he's been a big influence on me compositionally. As far as like rituals that I perform before or after shows, it's funny. I think that I should probably make some. I've been kind of weird. Like I usually a lot of musicians kind of like hide in the dressing room because they're sort of they need to have their rituals, and to a certain extent I think that that's really healthy and really important because we all got to do us. um but I've liked to kind of just walk around and be a person for a little while, say hi to some people. um at a certain point that gets a little weird, but it hasn't been unheard of for me to just kind of get ready, 5 minutes before it was time for me to go on. I will say that there are certain vocal exercises that I need to be aware of, little things you need to do to get your mouth working, like, you know, how now, brown cow, you know. I, I'm recording this sort of not that long after I've woken up and had breakfast, and so I haven't done those sorts of things yet today, and I actually felt my jaw is stiff. So it was very important that I did that because that actually hurt a little bit. So those are things that you want to do, but I tend to warm those up sort of on the car ride there, on the car ride to the venue. Uh, and so that's a thing. But practicing scales, kind of important. Another good trick that I've read about is you kind of want to, when you design your set as a musician, uh, you can kind of design your set so that you have your easiest songs sort of first. And by easy, I don't mean that as a judgment of whether they're good or not. I just mean that like there are certain songs that start in your sort of first register where you're most naturally singing. So I think I start with Faith and Trust oftentimes. So that song opens with me kind of just like mumbling or growling into the microphone. You get so easily hurt. You read into the pain, right? And then there's like a shout in the middle of the song. And so that has worked as a warm up for me because of the way it sort of paces itself. So, in a sense, I don't know, rituals. They're very important. I like to wake up and to have breakfast. I like oatmeal. I remember my students when I told them that. They got really into that. They liked that idea that I ate oatmeal every morning. I don't know why. It is almost every morning. Uh, Regularly, I have oatmeal. God, relax. The question I was supposed to answer is what do I do to relax? I think the better question for me is do I relax? It's something I struggle with, to be honest. Um, I will say this: I play a lot of video games. I have to remember to take my meds. And stretching. I mentioned earlier with the vocal warm ups, I had to stretch my mouth. Right, very important to do that. But the rest of my body, very important to stretch because if I just forget to do it, I guess I can be a bit of a stiff, or at least I feel like a bit of a stiff. Maybe my self awareness makes me less of a stiff. Because as I'm here talking, I don't feel that stiff. But um, very important that I remember to take my meds. Uh, I had trouble getting a hold of them last weekend, and I just kind of I'll isolate a lot when I'll isolate as much as possible when I'm unable to get a hold of my meds for a short time because I don't want to deal with people when I haven't because I'm deathly afraid that I will do or say something that I horribly regret or something. But I do play a lot of video games. Recently, I've been playing Fire Emblem. Elden Ring was a masterpiece, I thought. So much fun. Very stressful to play. Weirdly relaxing in its stressfulness. Um, I guess by setting a baseline, right? When I can beat bosses in Elden Ring that are incredibly challenging and then go to work and deal with the stress of my job, it is remember I'm a teacher in high school. I find that perhaps that is rather balancing, right? The stress of lesson planning and stuff is less overwhelming when I know that I can when I know that I can beat Millennia, Blade of Mikola. Oh, show and tell. Let me switch gears here. Okay, so it's time for show and tell. So very important to take your meds. I have one of these pill containers like an old person does, because if I don't, and today is Wednesday when I'm recording this, so I just redid this for the month. Very important to take your meds. On top of my ADHD meds, I also take a flaxseed oil so I can get my omega 3s. I used to do fish oil, but that would the fish oil would give me like fishy burps and it would make my breath stink, and that was not the best when I needed to, well, sing and talk for a living. I also take a multivitamin, and I take um for my joints. I'm blanking on what it's called. It's right here in front of me. I'm looking at the pill. Glucosamine. Glucosamine. I take glucosamine for my joints. Um, in the stuff I do to relax, I don't know if this is like a relax thing, but I sometimes play card games. I like the strategy aspect of it. Um, I've been teaching my son how to play Magic the Gathering, and so my brother has recently gotten back into it, and he got me a really awesome birthday gift that's actually really related to this. So he got me a Magic the Gathering playmat, and it's my album discography sort of aligned here in order. Sorry, this is like in reverse. So this is like waves. This is the chronological order that I released them in. You know, waves, the bad ideas we build worlds. My Black side project where I get angry and scream at things. I need to write some more of that music, I think. Rain, Honesty, I'm Not Dead, and then on the side he had some stuff. He used my banner from my Bandcamp page, so that's a cool thing. Let me set that aside here. I'm trying to set it aside nicely because it is a nice mat. All right, cool. So that's my show and tell. Really cool. That actually kind of leads right into the next thing, huh? So, uh, I guess I'd have to make another video for my music rig that could get edited into here if Sherry wants to do all that. All right. Latest releases. Speaking of my albums, I released a ton of music in 2019. And then I was really excited to promote it, in 2020. I'm Not Dead. This is reverse chronological order. I'm Not Dead over here. Let me make sure this is. Whoops. Yeah, no, I'm not showing this. Cool. Uh, I'm Not Dead over here. I'm Not Dead over here. I released that in like late December of 2019. So in 2020, I was very excited to promote all of these things. Uh, and then COVID-19 happened. And so obviously I couldn't really tour. Um, but that is what it is. So I've got some stuff I need to promote still. All this music that I wrote leading up to 2019. Um, so very excited to actually be able to play a big show like this in front of people who are passionate about this kind of music. Um, but yeah, so this is reverse chronological order. 2019 came out in December, and then I think Honesty and Rain both came out uh, in the summer of 2019. Rain is cool because Rain also has several remixes on it from other artists like the Russian White. Um, why am I blanking on this? Go Paul Metro. Uh, let's edit that part out. Let's stop it and say, let's stop it at has several remixes. Uh, prior to that, I think in 2017, I want to say, maybe it was 2018. I released the Bad Ideas We Build Worlds, and long before that, I also released Waves. So I have quite a lot of music out there for one guy. That's not even talking about my side project, Black. But you know, you I kind of go through phases where I'll have a lot that I need to say. I think I'm about to enter a phase like that. Um, but I kind of go through phases where I take a lot in and then a lot comes out. And I've been in a let a lot come in these last few years. because, well, um, COVID happened, and so I had to really put a big I had to put a big focus on my work as a teacher. That became incredibly important to me. I mean, it always had been, but it was especially so. All of these weird little talents that I sort of developed as a musician and as someone who knows how to make videos like this, God, all of that came into play the last couple of years. And so I'm actually sitting on a ton of recorded teaching content that I want to do something with um, leading up to stuff. So, sort of outside the music, I have a lot of creativity there um, that I need to kind of get out there. I'm kind of putting together a teaching YouTube page. I think I have only a few things on there right now, sort of like my initial Beowulf lectures and whatever. Um, but I've got a lot of great content that I'm planning to arrange and release on that platform. Uh, so I'm really looking forward to being able to play this show just in general. I think that I probably not the only one who feels like, well, COVID-19 really kind of got in the way of a lot of our plans. I think that's true for everyone. For some people, it was, God, I got to be sensitive and careful just talking about this because I know I was kind of lucky. I had a day job that remained relevant. I was positioned, I had a very specific set of skills so that I remained very valuable um, as a teacher during all of this. Speaking personally, I felt like I was especially valuable during all of it because I can do these sorts of things. And I know that for a lot of people, it completely upended their lives. Um, Friends who are in the music scene who do this music thing full time and that's their passion. Like, this I know was incredibly challenging. Uh, and people who do all kinds of other sorts of work um, were really challenged by this. And so, which is why I say I got to be sensitive because I know a lot of people lost their jobs and lost their livelihoods, let alone those who lost their lives. Um, hmm. But I'm excited to just play the shows again. I'm excited to be able to drive down to Florida and be able to play these songs in front of people who are really passionate about this music. I'm also really excited, just picking out a couple of artists in particular who you know, I know Luna from Syzygics. I've played with her before. I very specifically remember making her laugh with the way that I ate a banana. Uh, uh, so I'm excited to see Luna again. Very excited to see Empathy Test, as well as all these other artists here. So great to meet. It'll be great to meet a lot of these people as well, and to get to know them. Uh, Rex, it'll be cool to meet Rex in person. Down looking at the DJs here, it'll be cool to meet Rex in person, and also to meet Melissa Winters in person. But I remember Rex reached out to me early when my music started getting out there, and gave me some very keen advice, very down to earth advice. I was very wide eyed, very like, oh my God, people are paying attention. Should I quit my day job? And Rex gave me some very sage advice, and so I'm looking forward um, to getting to see him and to thank him for all that. But yeah, that's it. So to hear some of my music, I tried to organize this page. I need to go like back there and make sure that it says what I want it to say. But I set this up a long time ago. So if you go to thepurgemusic.com/info, it's pretty organized, almost the same way I would organize my my little teaching page for my students, where it kind of starts with like, here's the most recent important thing, but if you scroll just down that page, it's got all of my resources, all of my links to my music, all of my music video links, etc. And so it's a cool place to go to uh, get to know my music. And very important, y'all, remember to stay hydrated this summer and in the winter and fall and spring. But it's almost stupid just how much water matters. It's almost stupid just how much water matters. I'm gonna say this. I sometimes get mad at just how much water matters for my mood, for my energy, for my mental health in general. So anyway, stay hydrated, y'all. See ya in Tampa. All right, so here in my apartment, over by my bookshelf, and then there's my TV. I had a bit of a Twin Peaks phase, and that kind of got in there. But anyway, this is sort of my apartment here. But here in this corner is my music rig. I'm gonna switch to kind of just show you this. This is subject to change. It's a bit heavy. I might replace the box, but I did put a fair amount of work into this thing. There's a sliding shelf here so that this can come out, and then I mostly use this to control what tracks I'm launching. I can turn effects on and off from up here, but I could also write over here standing up if I want to. I've got wireless microphones set up, and it's kind of just going into this audio interface here. There's command strips on top of it because I used to have things sort of stacking vertically. This is currently turned off. I would turn it on, but I have it turned off during most of the day because there's in the back here, I don't know if you can really see this too well. It's hard to see it, and oh no, because it's on this row. In the back there, I have two wireless things. One is sending a wireless signal for my in-ear monitors, and then the other one is sending a wireless signal for lights when I use a light show that I worked out for my set. And because those send signals out, I have this thing turned off because when I leave it on, it actually interferes with my upstairs neighbor's ability to watch TV, I think. So I have that turned off now during the day. But this is pretty cool the way I have this set up. All of my peripherals are sort of in here, and then the reason why I have all these different banks is because I actually use a lot of rechargeable wireless stuff. So for my guitar, I use this sort of system here, and I like these because they're rechargeable. And then I also use rechargeable lithium batteries in my wireless microphone setup. So yeah, that's my setup over here. There's my guitar and my little MIDI keyboard for when I do my Nerd Black stuff with the two microphones. So yeah, that is as they say that. Oh, I should probably mention my art. There's a self-portrait, not a self-portrait. There's a portrait of me that someone made after I released some of my Rain promos, which was really cool, and then a collection of art sort of on my wall over there.